The lock clicked. Little Beck Hurrin's hands shook as she turned the handle. 3 days. 3 days since the funeral, and nothing tasted right. The chefs made perfect food, glistening rice, clear soup, dishes too beautiful to be real, but they tasted like air, like trying to eat sadness. Hurrin slipped into the hallway. Her legs felt weak. Everything felt weak lately. But she ran. The elevator descended. The smell got stronger with each floor, pulling her down like gravity. The basement doors opened to grey concrete and flickering lights. At the end of the hall, steam curled from a half-open door. Hurrin pushed it open. A woman sat alone at a plastic table, her back to the door, dark brown skin. A bright yellow scarf wrapped around her head. She hummed something low and sweet while she ate from a red container, and the smell coming from that container made Hurrin's knees buckle. The woman turned. Her eyes went wide. "Hey, little girl. Are you lost?" Hurrin couldn't speak. Her throat was too tight. She just pointed at the food with a trembling hand. The woman's face changed, went soft like melting butter. She pulled out the chair beside her without hesitating. "Oh, you hungry? Come here, sit down. It's okay." Hurrin climbed onto the chair. Her whole body shook now. The woman pushed the container toward her. "This is jollof rice. You want to try?" Hurrin grabbed the plastic fork with both hands. She scooped rice into her mouth. The world stopped. It tasted like love made into food. Tears poured down her face. She couldn't stop eating, couldn't stop crying. "Slow down, baby." The woman rubbed her back in the small circles. "Nobody's taking it away." Hurrin ate faster. 3 days of nothing came pouring out. "What's your name?" "Beck Hurrin." "Beck Hurrin. Pretty name. I'm Cynthia." She touched Hurrin's hand. "Where's your mum?" "Daddy said she went to heaven." Hurrin's voice cracked. "Grandmother too." Cynthia's eyes went soft and sad. "Oh, sweetheart, I'm so sorry." Hurrin leaned against her. Cynthia smelled like the food, like something safe. Footsteps thundered down the stairs. "Miss Bake!" Men in black suits burst through the door. One grabbed Hurrin out of the chair. The fork hit the floor. "How did she get out? Who are you?" Cynthia stood fast. "I am the cleaner here. She was hungry. I just gave her—" "We're leaving." "Wait, is she all right?" But they were gone. She ate. Baek Jiwoo's hand froze on his phone. "What?" "Hurrin ate, sir, with the cleaning lady." "Send me the footage." The video loaded. Black and white. Grainy. His daughter crying while she ate. A woman with a yellow scarf rubbing her back. The woman's face showed no fear. No pretense. Just someone feeding a hungry child like it was the simplest thing in the world. He watched it 3 times. Each time, his chest got tighter. "Who is she?" "Got her information from the building manager, Cynthia Okiki. 26, Nigerian, clean, record." Jiwoo paused the video on the woman's smile. Real, unguarded. "Bring her to me tomorrow evening." "Yes, sir." He walked to Hurrin's room. She was actually sleeping, peaceful. A small smile on her lips. He sat on her bed, touched her hair. His hand shook. 3 days watching his daughter fade. All his power, all his money, useless. One stranger with rice did what he couldn't. He needed to know why, and he needed to know if she was real. Cynthia's hands wouldn't stop shaking. The building manager found her the next evening. "Mr. Baek wants to see you, 60th floor." Her stomach dropped. "What did I do?" "Go now, Cynthia." The elevator climbed. Her reflection stared back from the metal doors. Cleaning uniform, worn sneakers. She didn't belong up there. The doors opened. Expensive furniture caught her eye almost immediately, and behind a glass desk, a man who looked carved from stone. Dark suit, sharp face, eyes like black ice. "Sit!" She sat, tried not to shake. A small voice came from the corner. Cynthia! Harin ran across the office and crashed into her, wrapped small arms around her waist. Cynthia's fear cracked. She hugged back. Hey, little girl. The man behind the desk stood slowly. You fed my daughter. I'm sorry, I should have called someone. She hasn't eaten in 3 days. His voice was quiet, controlled. Rejected meals made by my chefs. He paused. Something raw crossed his face. What did you give her? Just jollof rice, sir. He walked to the window, stood there for a long moment. I need you to cook for her, every evening. Sir, I'm not trained. How much do you make right now? $15 an hour. Part-time. I'll pay you $300 per meal. The room tilted. $300 every day. That was a lot of money. She could have some breathing room for the first time in years. But something felt wrong. I appreciate the offer, but why me? She heard herself say it. He turned. Those black eyes pinned her. Because my daughter drew this. He held up a paper. Crayon drawing. A woman with a yellow scarf, a little girl, both smiling. She drew it this morning, before I even called you. His jaw tightened. She hasn't been herself since her grandmother's death. His voice dropped. Until you. Cynthia looked down at Harin. The little girl was staring up at her with huge eyes. Can you come back? Harin whispered. Please. Cynthia's throat closed up. She knelt down. You want me to cook for you? Harin nodded hard. Then you got it, little girl. She looked up at the man. But I cook Nigerian meals. Something shifted in his face. Deal. She clearly liked the rice you gave her yesterday. Can I please know your name? Can't work for someone I only call Sir. His eyebrow lifted. Beck Ji-woo. Okay, Mr. Beck. She stood, still holding Harin's hand. Does tomorrow work? Yes, it does. Let's say 5 p.m. His voice went rough, raw. And thank you for feeding her yesterday. Not everybody would do that. She was hungry, Cynthia said simply. That's all that mattered. She left with the drawing in her hand. The elevator dropped 60 floors. Her whole life had just changed direction. Tomorrow at 5, she'd find out how much. Cynthia arrived at exactly 5 p.m. with 3 grocery bags. She'd taken 2 trains to get to the Nigerian market in Jackson Heights. Bought fresh tomatoes still warm from the sun. Scotch bonnet peppers that made the vendor laugh when she asked for the hottest ones. Red onions, chicken thighs, plantains so ripe they were almost black. The elevator climbed 60 floors. Her reflection stared back from the metal doors. Jeans, a simple blouse. Not a uniform this time, just herself. The doors opened. Ji-woo stood there waiting, not in a suit. In dark jeans and a simple black shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows, hair slightly messy, like he'd run his hands through it. He looked almost normal. Miss Okiki. He took 2 of her bags before she could protest. Come in. A small face peeked from behind his legs. Harin. Her smile was shy but real. She waved with just her fingers. Cynthia's nerves settled. She waved back. Hey, little girl, are you ready to help me cook? Harin nodded fast. The kitchen was massive, all white marble and stainless steel, gleaming and untouched like a museum exhibit. It didn't look like anyone had ever actually cooked here, just heated things up, arranged things on plates. Cynthia set her bags on the counter, started unpacking. You bought all this yourself? Ji-woo was watching her hands. Yes, the ingredients matter. She held up a Scotch bonnet pepper. You can't make real jollof with the wrong peppers. My grandmother would come back from the grave to yell at me. Harin giggled. Cynthia's chest went warm. She looked at Ji-woo. Can she sit up here, on the counter, so she can watch? I don't see why not. He lifted Harin like she weighed nothing. Set her on the counter near Cynthia, but not too close to the stove. Harin's legs swung back and forth, her eyes huge and curious. Okay, little girl, first rule of cooking, you have to talk to the food while you make it. Cynthia started washing tomatoes. My grandmother said food knows when you're cooking with love. It tastes different. Harin watched her hands, didn't speak but leaned closer. See these tomatoes? In Enugu, we had a garden. We grew everything ourselves. Cynthia held up her hands. She said the secret was singing to them while they grew. Did you sing? Harin's voice was barely a whisper. Cynthia smiled. Every single day. You want to help me sing to these tomatoes now? Harin nodded. Cynthia started humming, low and sweet, the same melody from the basement. She handed Harin a small bowl. Put these tomatoes in here. Crush them with your hands. Just squeeze them until they break apart. Harin took a tomato and did as she was told. It burst. Between her small fingers, juice running down her hands, her eyes went wide. That's it! Good job! Keep going! Harin crushed another one, then another. A smile grew on her face, real and bright and alive. Jiwoo stood in the doorway, just watching. His face was carefully blank, but his eyes were burning. Mr. Beck, you can come in. We don't bite. I should let you work. You're already standing there. Might as well come closer. She grabbed an onion, held it out. You know how to chop? His eyebrow lifted. I run a multi-billion-dollar empire. I think I can handle an onion. Pride comes before falling, Mr. Bake. Let me see your knife skills. Something flickered across his face. Amusement, maybe. He took the knife, started chopping. His cuts were precise, even, mechanical. Not like that. Cynthia moved closer. You're treating it like an enemy. Food needs gentler hands. Food doesn't have feelings. Yes, it does. Harin said it so seriously that both adults stopped. Grandmother said so too. Cynthia touched his wrist gently. Here, like this. Relax your shoulders. Let the knife do the work. She guided his hand. See? Better. He stared down at where her brown fingers rested on his wrist. Didn't pull away. The kitchen started to smell like life, like warmth and spice, and something being created instead of just assembled. Cynthia moved between the stove and the counter, stirring rice, frying plantains, telling stories about her grandmother's compound in Enugu, where chickens ran everywhere and mangoes grew on trees so tall you had to climb them barefoot. Harin listened to every word, asked small questions, laughed when Cynthia described falling out of a mango tree into a mud puddle. Jiwoo stayed. He meant to leave, handle business, make calls, return to the office down the hall, but he didn't. He just leaned against the counter and watched his daughter smile. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it. His face changed, went hard and cold. I need to take this. His voice dropped into that dangerous register. He stepped into the hallway. Cynthia heard his voice through the door, low, controlled, speaking Korean. Words she didn't understand but recognized the violence in them. She looked at Harin. Your daddy is scary sometimes, huh? Harin nodded, but not to me. Cynthia's throat went tight. She touched Harin's hair. I can see that he loves you very much, little girl. I know. Harin looked up. Do you have a dad? I did. He was involved in a car accident when I was a kid. Do you miss him? Cynthia's eyes burned. Every day. But he will forever remain in my heart. Harin nodded like she understood. The door opened halfway. Jiwoo stood there, phone still pressed to his ear. His face was stone, his eyes were ice. But then he looked at Harin, covered in tomato juice, smiling, alive, and something cracked. He said something sharp in Korean, ended the call, stood there for 3 long seconds, hand still gripping the phone like he might crush it. Then he took a breath, let his shoulders drop. slipped the phone into his pocket. When he walked back into the kitchen, his face had softened. Not completely, but enough. "Everything okay?" Cynthia asked quietly. "Business." He said it, like that explained everything, like that was supposed to be enough. "Well," she stirred the rice. "Business can wait. Dinner is ready." The dining table was obscene. 12 chairs around a slab of black marble that could seat a corporate board, usually empty, usually silent. Cynthia set 3 plates down, jollof rice the colour of sunset, fried plantains glistening with oil, grilled chicken that had been marinated in her grandmother's spice blend. Harin climbed into a chair, stared at the food like it was treasure. Cynthia said a quick prayer for them. "Go ahead, little girl. Eat." Harin took a bite, closed her eyes. Her whole face relaxed. She took another bite, then another. No tears this time, just happiness, just a child eating food. Cynthia sat down across from her, watched her eat. Jiwoo stood at the head of the table, awkward, out of place in his own home. "Mr. Baik," Cynthia gestured to the chair. "Sit. You don't want to eat." "I don't want to interrupt, Daddy." Harin looked up. Her voice was clear. "Sit." He sat down slowly. Cynthia served him a plate. He stared at it like he'd forgotten what food was supposed to look like when it wasn't arranged by professionals. "Go ahead," she said gently. "It's just food." He picked up his fork, took a bite. His eyes closed for just a second. When they opened, something had shifted in them. "This is..." He stopped, started again. "This is very good. Thank you." They ate in silence for a moment. Then Harin started talking about her colouring book, about a butterfly she saw from the window. Cynthia responded naturally, asked questions, laughed at Harin's observations. Jiwoo just watched them. His daughter was talking, actually talking, smiling, eating, living. And this woman, this stranger who'd walked into their lives yesterday, was making it look easy. "Your grandmother," he said suddenly, "in Enugu, is she still there?" Cynthia's smile dimmed. "She passed away 2 years ago. That's part of why I came to America. To make money for her medical bills, but..." She shook her head. "I was too late. I'm sorry." "Me too." She looked at Harin. "But she taught me everything I know about cooking, about feeding people with love. So she's still here, in a way." Harin reached across the table, put her small hand on Cynthia's. Didn't say anything, didn't need to. After dinner, Cynthia started gathering plates. "Leave those." Jiwoo stood. "The staff will handle it in the morning. I'm already here, it's no trouble." She carried dishes to the sink, started washing. Jiwoo watched her for a moment. Then he grabbed a dish towel. Cynthia startled when he appeared next to her. "Mr. Baik, you don't have to... You cooked. I can dry." Their hands brushed when she handed him a wet plate. She pulled back fast. They worked in silence. She washed. He dried. The only sound was water running and the clink of dishes. It felt domestic, dangerous, like crossing a line neither of them had agreed to cross. "My mother used to cook," he said quietly. "When I was young, before my father's business grew, before everything got..." He stopped. "She stopped cooking when we got staff, said it wasn't appropriate for someone of her position." Cynthia handed him another plate. "Did you miss it, her cooking?" "Every day." She looked at him and saw past the expensive clothes and dangerous eyes, saw someone who'd lost his mother, who was watching his daughter slip away, who'd hired a stranger because he was desperate. "She's going to be okay," Cynthia said softly. "Harin, she's stronger than you think." Before he could respond, a small sound came from the living room. They both turned. Harin had curled up on the couch, full belly, exhausted, fast asleep. Jiwoo set down the towel, walked over, looked down at his daughter. His hand shook when he brushed hair from her face. I haven't seen her sleep like this since. He couldn't finish. Cynthia came up beside him. She will again, every night, as long as she feels safe. He lifted her in carefully. She didn't wake, just curled against his chest. He carried her down the hall to her bedroom. When he came back, Cynthia was gathering her empty grocery bags. Same time tomorrow? She asked. Yes. He paused. Miss Okiki. You can call me Cynthia, Mr. Bayek. Then call me Jiwoo. She blinked, surprised. Employers didn't do that. Powerful men didn't ask to be called by their first names by the help. Good night, Jiwoo. His name in her accent, the way her voice shaped the syllables, did something to his chest. She left before either of them could say anything else. The elevator descended 60 floors. Cynthia leaned against the wall, closed her eyes, clutched her empty bags. That wasn't just a job, that felt like family. Dangerous thought. She was the cook. He was her employer. That little girl needed stability, not complications. But when she closed her eyes, she saw Jiwoo drying dishes next to her, saw Harin calling him Appa, saw the way he'd looked at her when she said children are stronger than we think. The elevator doors opened. She walked out into the lobby, into the cold New York night. This is going to be complicated, she whispered to no one. Then she went home. Wait, let me ask you something. Jiwoo just hired a stranger to feed his daughter. Now he's standing in his kitchen, drying dishes next to her like they're a family. Would you trust her this fast, or keep your distance? If you're hooked on this story, hit that like button right now. It tells me you want more emotional romances where grief meets hope and love grows in unexpected places. Do you think Jiwoo is letting her in too soon? Haven't subscribed yet? Hit that button now so you never miss these heartfelt stories. Now let's see what happens when Cynthia realizes this is more than just a job. These past weeks have been amazing for them. Harin was more happy now, laughed at dinner, drew pictures of the three of them holding hands under a yellow sun. Jiwoo looked forward to coming home earlier, helped chop vegetables, dried dishes without being asked, looked at Cynthia like she was what his life had been missing. Tonight felt different, charged, like something had been building for weeks and was finally ready to break. Cynthia stirred egusi soup while Jiwoo set the table. The kitchen smelled rich. Melon seeds, spinach, palm oil. Harin sat on the counter between them, swinging her legs, chattering about a butterfly she'd seen from the window. Every time Cynthia reached for something, Jiwoo was there handing it to her. Their fingers brushed, their eyes met, held. They were dancing around something neither would name. Dinner was warm and easy. Harin ate everything, told a rambling story about her dolls, then fell asleep right there at the table with her head on her arms. Jiwoo lifted her gently. I'll be right back. He carried her down the hall. Cynthia started washing dishes, smiling to herself. This was her life now. This warmth, this family wasn't hers, but felt like it anyway. Jiwoo returned, picked up the towel without asking. They worked in comfortable silence. The kitchen smelled like spices and home. Wine sat open on the counter. Outside, the city glittered like scattered stars. Cynthia, she looked up. He was staring at her with an intensity that made her breath catch. Yes, these past weeks. He set down the towel. You've become... He stopped, searching for words. She turned to face him fully. I've become what? He stepped closer. Everything to us. The word hung between them, heavy, true. He cupped her face with both hands. His thumbs brushed her cheeks. Tell me you don't feel it too, Cynthia. Tell me to stop. She couldn't. Didn't want to. He kissed her, slow at first, tentative, then desperate. She kissed him back, her hands fisting in his shirt, pulling him closer. 3 weeks of almost touches and stolen glances and wanting poured out between them. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against hers. "Cynthia, I know." Her voice was barely a whisper. "I feel it too." His eyes closed briefly. Relief and something deeper washed over his face. "It's late." He sounded reluctant. "Let me drive you home. You don't have to." "I want to." The car ride was quiet. His hand found hers across the centre console, fingers lacing together like it was natural, like they'd done it 1,000 times before. The city blurred past the windows, but Cynthia only saw him. The way streetlights caught his profile, the way his thumb traced circles on her palm. He parked outside her building in Queens. The neighbourhood was nothing like his world. Cramped apartments, cracked sidewalks, graffiti on the corner store. But he looked at her like none of that mattered. "Cynthia, I meant what I said. She kissed him, hard and fast and certain. When she pulled back, his eyes were dark, wanting. "See you tomorrow." His voice was rough. "Tomorrow?" She got out. He watched her until she disappeared through the building's front door. She looked back once, saw him smiling. Her heart felt too big for her chest. She climbed 3 flights of stairs, fumbled with her keys, and unlocked her apartment door, flipped on the light, froze. Madame Constance sat at her small kitchen table like she owned it, elegant in a cream suit, diamonds at her throat. Completely out of place in Cynthia's tiny apartment with its peeling wallpaper and thrift store furniture. "Hello, Miss O'Keefe." Her voice was silk over steel. "We need to talk." Cynthia's joy shattered into fear, then anger. "Who are you and how did you get in here?" "My name is Constance, and I just want to talk." "Get out of my home, or I will call the police." "Not until you see what you need to see. Sit down." Constance spread photographs across the table. Crime scene photos. Bodies. Blood. Evidence folders with official stamps. Cynthia's stomach turned. This is who Baek Ji-woo really is. The photos were brutal. A man face down in an alley. Another slumped in a car. Drug paraphernalia scattered like confetti. Police tape. Chalk outlines. "He's not a real estate mogul, Miss O'Keefe. He's a crime lord." Constance's finger tapped each photo. Drug operations. Territory wars. Murder. Cynthia couldn't look away. Couldn't breathe. The empire he built. The money he pays you with. Constance's voice was cold. Factual. It's built on suffering. On dead bodies. On families destroyed. "Why are you showing me this?" Cynthia's voice shook. Constance's mask cracked. Real pain flickered through. "Because 7 years ago, his drugs killed my son." She pulled out another photo. A young man, early 20s, bright smile, graduation gown, overdose, fentanyl-laced heroin, traced back to Ji-woo's operation. Her voice broke. "He was 23, my only child." The air left the room. Constance composed herself, slid another photo forward. "Ji-woo destroys families. The drugs he moves kills people, Miss O'Keefe." Cynthia's hands went cold. "It's all blood money. You're feeding his daughter with money earned from dead children." The words were poison. They sank into Cynthia's skin like acid. "What do you want from me?" "I want you to help me put him away, testify, give evidence about what you've seen in his home." "I haven't seen anything." "You will. You're there every evening. You have access. You can get me what I need to destroy him legally, send him to prison, where he belongs." Constance's eyes burned. "He's a murderer, Miss O'Keefe. He deserves to rot in a cell for what he's done." Cynthia stared at her. "You want me to betray him?" "I want you to do the right thing." Constance stood, gathered the photos, except one, left it on the table. Think about it, Miss Okiki. Think about the hands that touched you tonight, what they've done, who they've killed. She walked to the door and stepped out. The door closed. Silence. Cynthia sank into her chair, stared at the photo on her table. Blood, bodies. His name, typed in the official font. Her phone buzzed. Text from Jiwoo. Can't stop thinking about tonight. About you. Sleep well. She stared at the message, then at the photo. Her hands shook. Another buzz. Good night, Cynthia. She thought about Harin's smile, about Jiwoo's hands in hers, about the kiss that felt like coming home, then thought about Constance's son, about families destroyed, about where the money came from. Her phone screen went dark. She still hadn't replied. Who are you, Beck Jiwoo? She whispered to the empty room. And what am I doing falling in love with you anyway? The photo stared back at her, silent, damning. Outside, the city hummed. Inside, Cynthia sat alone with the truth. And everything had changed. Cynthia didn't sleep. She sat at her kitchen table all night, staring at the crime scene photos. Blood on pavement. A body under a white sheet. Jiwoo's name typed in cold official font. Her phone buzzed at 6 a.m. Jiwoo calling. She stared at his name on the screen. Let it ring. Voicemail. Another buzz. Text. Cynthia, are you okay? You're worrying me. Her hands shook. She picked up the photo, looked at it one more time. Then she grabbed her coat. The elevator ride to the 60th floor felt like drowning. She clutched the photo in her purse. Her heart hammered against her ribs. The doors opened. Jiwoo stood there waiting. He must have been watching the security cameras. His face flooded with relief when he saw her. You didn't answer. I thought, we need to talk. His relief died. He saw something in her eyes, something that made his shoulders go rigid. Come in then. The penthouse felt different now, cold, sterile, like she was seeing it for the first time. The expensive furniture, the paintings, the empire built on something dark she'd been too happy to see. Cynthia! Harin came running, crashed into her legs, wrapped small arms around her waist. You came early. Can we make breakfast together? I want to help cook like yesterday. Cynthia's heart cracked down the middle. She knelt down, touched Harin's face. Not today, little girl. Why not? I need to talk to your daddy first. Grown-up talk. Harin's face fell. Jiwoo saw the look on Cynthia's face and moved fast. Harina, go to your room. An hour of screen time. But now, baby. His voice was gentle, but firm. Harin looked between them, sensing something wrong. She went. The door closed. Silence. Cynthia pulled out the photo, put it on the glass coffee table between them. Is this real? Jiwoo went completely still. He looked at the photo, then at her. Long silence. Too long. Where did you get this? Answer the question. Is it real? He picked it up, studied it carefully. His jaw worked. Yes, but not the way you think. Don't. Her voice shook. Don't insult me by making excuses. I'm not making excuses. I'm telling you the truth. He sat down heavily. Where did you get this? A woman named Constance came to my apartment last night. After you dropped me off, she was waiting inside. His face went dark, dangerous. She broke into your home. She showed me everything. Photos, police reports, evidence. Cynthia's voice rose. She told me you're a drug lord, that your empire killed her son, that his death is on your hands. It is true that her son died from drugs. Jiwoo's voice was flat, but it wasn't my operation. You're splitting hairs. No, I'm telling you exactly what happened. He looked at her. I had a business partner, Lee. We ran separate operations under the same organisation. I handled real estate, gambling and protection. Dirty, yes. Criminal, yes, but not drugs. Never drugs. Cynthia stared at him. Then why is your name on this report? Because Lee started cutting his product with fentanyl, cheaper, more addictive, higher profit margin. Jiwoo's hands clenched. I found out when bodies started piling up. Overdoses traced back to our organisation, to our name. And I went to Lee. Told him to stop immediately. He refused, said I was being weak, that this was just business. So what did you do? I cut ties. Publicly, violently, made it very clear his operation was separate from mine. His voice went cold. Then I fed information to the police, anonymous tips, locations, shipment schedules, everything they needed to bring him down. Cynthia's breath caught. You turned him in. Lee's in prison now, 25 to life. He'll probably die there. Jiwoo looked at the photo, but people had already died, including Constance's son. So you knew. Her voice broke. You knew people were dying and you just walked away. I did more than walk away. I made sure Lee could never do it again. But you were still part of it, the organisation. Yes, you enabled it. Yes. Constance's son is still dead. Yes. His voice cracked. And I carry that every single day, because I should have known sooner, should have been watching closer, should have never been in business with someone like Lee in the first place. Tears ran down Cynthia's face. She wants me to help her put you in prison. Testify. Get evidence from inside your home. Jiwoo nodded slowly. She's been trying for 7 years. What are you going to do? I don't know. Why haven't you been arrested? Because I'm careful, because I've been cleaning up my operations, and because without testimony from someone inside my life. He looked at her. Someone like you, she has nothing solid enough to prosecute. Cynthia sank onto the couch. You're still in it. The life, the empire. I'm trying to get out. I have been trying for a while now. Since I realised I didn't want my daughter growing up in this world. Trying isn't the same as doing. It's not simple. You don't just walk away. There are obligations, debts, people who depend on the organisation. He sat across from her. But I'm transitioning, legitimising, investments, tech startups, clean money. It takes time. So you're still dirty. Yes. The word hung between them, heavy, true. Silence stretched. Jiwoo stood, walked to the window, looked out at the city he'd built an empire in. If you want to help Constance, I won't stop you. His voice was steady, final. I deserve whatever comes. What about Harin? I can't do that to her. She'll be taken care of. His jaw tightened. But I won't ask you to stay with someone like me. He stood there, waiting for her to leave. Cynthia stared at his back. This man who'd just confessed everything, who'd stopped his partner, who'd been trying to get out for 3 years, who was releasing her without a fight, because he thought that's what she deserved. What if I don't want to leave? Jiwoo went completely still. Don't! The word came out rough. What if I choose you anyway? He turned. His face was raw, desperate. Why would you do that? Because you're trying to get out, because Harin needs you and she deserves to be raised by you. She stood, walked toward him. Because I love you anyway. His eyes closed. Cynthia, but you have to promise me something. Anything. Finish it. Finish getting out, completely. I don't care how long it takes. I don't care what you have to sacrifice. Long pause. He looked at her, really looked. And if I can't, then I leave, and I help Constance destroy you myself. His breath caught. You'd really stay, knowing what I am? I'm staying for who you're trying to become. Silence, heavy, charged. Then, 1 year, maybe 2, I'll be completely clean. No drugs, no violence, No empire. No empire. He stepped closer, cupped her face. Just me, Harin. And you, if you'll have us. I'll wait. But Jiwoo, if you lie to me, if I find out you're still hurting people, you'll help Constance yourself. I got it. Yes, he nodded. Fair. He kissed her then. Desperate, grateful, terrified of losing her. She kissed back, choosing him, choosing this impossible thing. When they broke apart, he rested his forehead against hers. Thank you, he whispered, for believing I can be better. Don't thank me yet. Her voice was fierce. Prove it. I will. I promise. They stood there. The photo still on the table, the truth between them, but also hope, 18 months later. The apartment was smaller, a 2-bedroom in a nice neighbourhood, not a penthouse, not 60 floors up, just a home. Cynthia stirred egusi soup while Harin stood on a step stool beside her. The kitchen smelled like palm oil and melon seeds and something warm. More spinach, Mama Cynthia. Cynthia's heart still caught every time Harin said that. Mama, like it was the most natural thing in the world. Yes, baby. Add it slowly. Harin carefully dropped spinach into the pot. Stirred with a wooden spoon too big for her hands. The door opened. Jiwoo came home. Casual jeans, simple shirt, no expensive suit. He worked in tech investment now. Legitimate, clean. He'd sold his interests, paid his debts, walked away from the empire. It took 18 months, cost him most of his wealth, cost him connections, power, status, but he was free. Constance tried to prosecute, came after him hard, but without Cynthia's testimony and without an active criminal enterprise, the case fell apart. The police had nothing solid, nothing current. She still hated him, probably always would. Her son was still dead. That pain didn't go anywhere, but her revenge slipped through her fingers. Jiwoo dropped his bag, came into the kitchen, wrapped his arms around Cynthia from behind, kissed her neck. Smells good? Everything smells good when you cook with love, Harin said seriously. They both laughed. Dinner was simple. Egusi soup, rice, fried plantains. They sat at a small table. Not glass, not a designer, just wood. Warm, real. Harin chattered about school, about her friend who had a pet hamster and how she wanted one as well, about wanting to learn Korean better. Appa, she said, already practicing her Korean. When can we visit Mama Cynthia's family in Nigeria? Jiwoo looked at Cynthia. She nodded. This summer, princess, I promised your mama. Cynthia smiled. And your father keeps his promises. Jiwoo squeezed her hand under the table. Always. After dinner, they put Harin to bed together. She fell asleep holding both their hands. In their own bedroom, Cynthia stood at the window. Jiwoo came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist. Do you ever regret it? He asked quietly. Staying. She thought about it, about Constance's son, about the photo, about the choice she made. Sometimes I wonder if I chose wrong, if loving you makes me complicit. She turned in his arms, but then I see Harin, and I see you, the real you, not the empire, not the power, just the man trying to be better. I'm still trying, I know. That's why I stayed. He kissed her, soft, grateful, like he still couldn't believe she was real. Some love stories are easy, she whispered against his lips. Ours was built on hard truths, second chances, and the belief that broken people can become whole again. One meal at a time, he finished. She smiled. One meal at a time. Outside, the city hummed. Inside, a family, messy and complicated and built from broken pieces, sat down to dinner, and that was enough. The end. Cynthia had every reason to walk away. The photos, the truth, the blood money. Constance was right. She should have left, but she stayed anyway, because sometimes love isn't about choosing the safe option. It's about choosing the person who's trying to become better. If you believe in second chances, in redemption, in love that's earned and not just given, subscribe. More stories like this are coming. Stories where love is complicated, costly, and completely worth it. Hit that subscribe button. You won't regret it.